Sister K is a registered foundation actually. It's a sisterhood that I started in 2013, and I really had a burden there for the girls, especially in my family, when you get phone calls, Kuti, so and so has dropped out of school, so and so is pregnant, so and so is living not right. I was disturbed, and I remember one day God was like, but what are you doing about it? So for a long time before 2013, actually, it was a burden that was on my heart that I should do something to empower the girls in my family. So eventually in 2013, I told my parents, I said, this is what I feel God is laying in my heart to do. And my parents were very supportive. They were like, yeah, bring them. So we all went to our home, to my home in Bethlehem actually. And we have been meeting every year since to talk about life, to inspire one another, to learn from each other, and everything that a girl child needs. I just decided to be that older sister for all the girls in my family and my cousins as well. So it's been phenomenal. We've built great relationships as a family. Some we would have never even met. We would have never known that they were family had we not started the session. So it's been absolutely amazing what God has done through that one act of obedience of just calling everyone together. So now as a formal registered foundation, I do these kind of sessions, the women upliftment, women development, women empowerment, wherever I get the opportunity, because I really believe that I have been called for this ministry. And I always say, when you in your life you have been fortunate enough to reach some level of success, then you have a responsibility to really give back and to pull everyone in your circles with. So it's an honor and it's a privilege to be with you this evening. So yeah, I'm excited though. Before I go into today's session, it's my birthday on Sunday. So for me, this session was like, wow, I'm starting my birth month on a high. So I'm very, very much excited to be with you ladies today. Yeah. So let me go into it. When I do these kind of talks, people tend to be tempted to box me and to describe me as a motivational speaker, and I always protest. I am a lot of things, but if you have to define my speaking, or define me as a speaker, I prefer to be referred to as an inspirational speaker. Motivation is important and it has its place, but I prefer to inspire and I prefer to be inspired. Motivation usually involves personal goals. It's focused on oneself and often it's very short lived. When you motivate someone, you give them a motive to do something, or you induce them towards a certain behavior. It's mainly used in the marketing space, do this to avoid this negative consequence, or do this to get this positive reward, buy this product and lose weight, or buy this car and get the girl, whatever motivates you to do something they will use. So it's essentially an attempt to affect a person's behavior in a particular way by providing them with a motive. I have nothing against motivation, don't get me wrong. Like I said, it is important and it does have its place. Inspiration, on the other hand, is about how many people's lives can I impact. It's not the same as motivation. It's a step up from motivation. When you inspire, you instill a desire in another person to outpour, for them to put themselves to others as an act of love, to pour themselves out to others as an act of love or an act of service in order to make a difference in the next person's life. So if you are an inspirational person, it means that you have a spirit that affects, that guides, or that arouses a divine influence in someone. You realize you are a vessel for something to flow through. You live from a space of passion, of purpose, and of meaning. Life becomes sweet and you really enjoy the journey. So yeah, I believe today I am in communion with leaders who are inspirational leaders, because of the calling that you have responded to. I believe that anyone who is working with children and youth is called. It's really a ministry. So I am so privileged to be in the midst of inspirational leaders this evening. So why am I even speaking to you guys today if you are inspirational leaders? Firstly, iron sharpens iron. So when we come together and we are iron, we all leave sharper than what we came. And if you were a little bit blunt and rough around the edges, when you've made contact with other irons, you just come out more sharpened. And the brief that I was given is that our job is challenging. And it has become even more tougher in this current world of COVID-19. We have had to dig even deeper as child and youth development workers to ensure that we still have impact in the lives of our children and our youth. We are empty, the brief said. How can you refill us? Well, unfortunately, I have bad news for you today. I cannot refill you by myself. So the brief in chair was a great responsibility. But I'm here to instill hope and to let you know that you can actually refill yourself. I can only guide you on how you can do it successfully, but you have to be a willing participant. So today I have entitled my talk, Refilling Your Tank. I can relate to this brief of feeling empty because things are tough. The current world, COVID has just turned lives upside down. There is a huge sense of loss at different levels. There are those that have lost their loved ones. There are those that have lost their health, those who were infected by the virus. There are those, and this one goes to all of us. We've all lost our routine. Life is not life as we knew it, as per usual. And for the sanguines, these are the ones, these personalities that we refer to, that are the life of a party. A loss of close and constant human contact has been a great loss of connection for them. There are those people who get their energy from being amongst people, and this season has seen them suffer that loss of connection. And as leaders, we have this inherent need to act in such situations. But we very quickly realized in this current situation that some things are just out of our hands. We do not have control, or at least as much control as we would like to have over certain situations. And this, as a leader, it leaves you feeling helpless. And it's a breeding ground for frustration, for anxiety, and even stress. So I really, really can relate to the need for sessions like this. I have limited time with you today, so I'm only going to talk about 2 things, and then I'll let you get back to your families. I won't be able to go into as much detail as I would have loved to, but I assure you that what I'm going to share with you today will be enough to have impact. The 2 things that I'm going to talk about is Why must I refill your tank? And the second thing is, how do I refill your tank? And then I'll just encourage you, if you have a question or anything, you can just pop it in the chat section, or if we have time afterwards, I'll also be very happy and very willing to take any questions if there is a need. So like I said, I'm just talking about two things. Why must you refill your tank, and how do you do it? With most of the things I usually talk about, I always start with a why, because in the absence of you understanding why you have to do something, you can easily give up at the sight of the first challenge. If you're a child and you're in school and you are asked why are you in school, and your only reason for being in school is because mommy told me to do so, when school gets tough, then it becomes easy for you to quit. But if you understand why you are in school, then you will stay in school until you complete, because you understand why and that it's for your benefit. So that's why I'm starting with the why. So just like you need to refill your car's petrol tank, you also as a person need to refill what I refer to as your emotional tank. A car that has run out of petrol stops moving, and when it stops moving, it becomes ineffective, as it can no longer fulfill its function, which is to move you from point A to point B. The same applies with our emotional tanks. You become ineffective when you are emotionally drained. You are unable to effectively fulfill your purpose. And quite frankly, when you pour from empty, you are cheating the people that you are trying to serve. And in fact, with us, we can't actually afford to get to empty before we refill, because with us it's not as easy as with a car where you just get a scoop and then you make a plan and you refill from wherever the car is. With us, it's a bit more complex than that, and that is why we must do due diligence to ensure that we do not run to empty. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those who fills up my car when the gauge is red. And even when it's red, I still in my mind know that it can still go another 50 kilometers or so. So sometimes I don't even refuel immediately when it goes red, because I'm calculating that I can still make it. I can still make a trip here or a trip there. Me, I wait for empty before I fill my car, but I try as much as possible, though, when it comes to my emotional tank, not to exercise the same habit because that can get very dangerous. So I'm not a psychologist, but I do know that there is a chemical in our bodies that is called serotonin. Serotonin has a wide variety of functions in our bodies, and it mainly contributes to a person's well-being, to your mood, and even your happiness level. So sometimes it's referred to as the happy chemical or the happy hormone. It is essentially the hormone that keeps you happy. When you lack serotonin, you become unhappy and even depressed, depending on how low the levels get and how long they stay. So you can see on the slide, this depicts your emotional tank under normal circumstances, when not too much is happening. You can see that there is a drain, there's you there, and there's bottles that are filling you up, but there's also a drain that's going out. think of the water level as your levels of your happy chemical that I just spoke about now, and the pipe that drains you as things that drain you. So things that drain you under normal circumstances is just your daily serving people, you working, you parenting, you going through different emotions. I mean, as women, you can imagine how many emotions do you go through in one day. So that's that opening at the bottom, and there's also an outpouring because you are pouring out to people around you. So if you can go to the next slide, Ausjabu. Thank you. So during hectic seasons in your life, there's more things that drained you. You get drained even more than in usual in usual seasons. So I just wanted to give you a visual depiction of what I was talking about. We will go back to these two diagrams shortly. So I'll just continue talking now. Even if you don't display anything, Jabu, it's fine. So in life there are things that refill our tanks. That is, they increase our levels of happiness, or the serotonin that I was referring to earlier. And then there are also things that drain our tanks, which are things that reduce our happiness levels. I'll just refer to it simply as our happiness levels. I know that I'm making it too easy. Psychologists and psychiatrists would not be happy with me, but for the purposes of this discussion, let me just call it our happiness levels. So in order to live a happy, balanced life, you must ensure that your happiness levels remain high. Otherwise, you will suffer from emotional exhaustion. And at the lowest levels of your happiness, you may even suffer from depression. So you must ensure that your serotonin levels does not go below certain levels. The higher you keep it, the better. So why do we run out of fuel, you might ask? And I'm using the analogy of a car, but you'll see also that it relates to you in answering that question, reasons why you run out of fuel. So if you don't start the day on a full tank, you're not allowing yourself time to fill up. Sometimes you are unaware because you have hidden leaks. These hidden leaks can be relationships. You know, there are some relationships that you have that you are not aware that they actually drain you, but they actually drain you. There are some responsibilities that you have and you do them on a daily basis and you are not aware that they actually drain you. And then there's this one, which is ignoring the owner's manual. You know, when you buy a car, you know, or they tell you that a full tank can go so many kilometers. But if you ignore that instruction by the manufacturer, you can easily run out of fuel. And the same is with us. We have a manual. If I use myself as a Christian as an example, my manual is the Bible. I need to consult the Bible to know how far I can go. But if I ignore it or I don't know, I will push further than what I am created to. And then that will cause my happiness levels to be drained out. I mean, a simple example, the Bible tells us to rest on the seventh day. How many of us actually do take rest at least once a week? Kuthulile bandleni, because we are guilty, I know. You lose happiness by being too hurried. You know, what are the warning signs that really you are emotionally exhausted, or you're emotionally drained, or your tank needs to be refilled. I'm just gonna go through those quickly, and then we're gonna get to the how. The how part is always the exciting part. You get easily irritated and get upset over little things. You know, where when your child or your spouse finishes eating and 5 minutes later they still haven't taken their dirty dish to the sink, you blow a gasket. So getting easily irritated is one of the first signs that you are irritated. Lack of motivation is another one. You know, when just getting out of bed seems like moving a mountain. Things that you would ordinarily do very easily, all of a sudden they seem so difficult to do. Constantly being physically tired, it's another sign that you are drained and you become less productive. How about change in appetite? Eating too much, eating too little, or not eating at all, which can result in weight gain or weight loss. Getting sick more often is another sign, because your immune system tends to weaken when you are emotionally not okay. Sleep disorders, either difficulty sleeping or sleeping too much. Feeling numb is the last one that I'm going to talk about, and then I'll go on to the next section, where you become forgetful and few things matter. It's almost like nothing matters to you anymore. You don't laugh, you don't cry, you're just simply emotionally detached. This one I'm very much familiar with. In 2018, when I lost my baby, I was very forgetful. Like, I would literally forget even what I ate for breakfast. And emotionally, I was so detached. I felt like nothing can hurt me anymore, you know, because after the way I've been hurt, nothing else can be painful. So that was also a definite sign that I was emotionally drained. So now, how do I refill my tank? 3 things. The first thing, get fed up. Get tired of living a stressed out life. Stop being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Nothing will happen until you decide to do something about the status quo. If you are worn out, if you are stressed, you are tired, you are unhappy, you have to decide that you will not live that way anymore. Unfortunately, we learn mostly through pain. You know, most of us don't change because of the lights. We change because of fire. We must see lightning before we change. So, take Sister K's advice today. Before disaster strikes, make a decision. Are you going to break down, or are you going to break through? Choose to break through. Shabi, if we could go back to the illustration on the screen, please. I'll continue talking while she brings it up. You will see that on the illustration I have 5 things that are pouring into the tank. They are spiritual, emotional, intellectual, physical, and social. These represent a summary of all the things that can fill you. Yeah, it's on the screen. Everybody can see that. So these are these categories. They are also referred to as dimensions of wellness. So spiritual, emotional, intellectual, physical, and social. This brings me to the second and the third thing that you must do in order to refill. Remember the first one, get fed up. Second one, you must know what refills your tank. And the third one, you must know what drains your emotional tank. Understand these things. Understand what brings you joy. prioritize it and do it more continually and be consistent at it. In seasons when there is more drainage, you must be even more intentional about filling up. Don't cut down on doing things that fill you up when you are under pressure. And I'm also guilty of this one sometimes. I'm busy and then I don't do the things that I know fill me up. We must be intentional about refilling. We must be aware so that we can keep healthy levels of happiness. We must ensure that even the people around us know what drains us and what fills us up. And we must also know our loved ones, what drains them and what fills them up also. You must also know what drains you. And once you identify the things that drain you, you must categorize them. There are those that you can control, that you are fully in control of. And there are those that are really outside of your control, because life in its nature and is draining. Most importantly, you must remember that not everything that drains you is a bad thing. I'm not saying that once you identify something as something that drains you, that you must stop doing it. No, that's not what I'm saying. There are things that you must stop doing, but there are things that you need to continue doing, but you must learn how to balance them with something else that you like. I'll make you an example. As youth workers, you guys might get fulfillment in resolving difficult family situations of a child that you are looking after. It will drain you, but it is fulfilling at the same time. You understand? So it's your calling. It's not something that you can avoid. If I use myself as an example also, preaching is fulfilling. I love preaching, but it's also draining. After I've preached, I am very tired. But being aware that it is draining helps me, because now I know what are the things I need to do to refill after I have preached. Another example, I've never raised a small baby, but knowing myself, I have a feeling that changing nappies might drain me. But that doesn't mean that I will not change my child's nappies. Since I'm aware of it though, it might mean that after I change the nappy, I must do something that fulfills me up. So maybe I must spend a few minutes playing with the baby every time I change the nappy. So you see the significance and the importance of being aware of what drains you, so that even if it's something that you have to do, you are conscious of it, so you are able to counter it with something that makes you happy. Here's the important question though. Do you know what fills your drain? Do you know what drains your tank? If not, don't despair. That's why I'm here. Here is some questions that you can ask yourself that will help you to discover what fills you up and what drains you. The first thing is, reflect on a time in your life when you were low. Like I just gave you my example now. How did you come out of that phase? Think about it. What did you do? And what was happening around you that caused you to overcome that season? Think also about a happy time in your life when you were happiest. Who are you with? What are you doing in this situation of happiness? Where are you? Answer this question also. I feel most alive when, and you can complete the sentence. Like for me, I feel most alive right now when I'm doing what I'm doing. So take some time and reflect on these questions. And this is why I love workshops, because if we were in a workshop, we would take time to answer these questions, so that when you leave with more answers than questions, and you leave with an actionable plan. But let's make the best of this platform. So ensure that you take time, you reflect on those questions, and you answer them, and it will help you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use myself as an example, just to show you practical things that drains you, that can potentially drain you, or can potentially fill you. So I'm using myself as an example. Trust me, I've done this as a pastor, a mentor, an academic, a business person, a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, etc., etc. I'm continually pouring myself on others, and life also presents things that drain me, that are out of my control. So what I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to make it very quick because I can see time is not on our side, is just to go back to those 5 categories of the things that we're pouring in on the diagram, and just to give you practical examples, using myself as an example of the things that you can potentially think about that drain you, and the things that fill you up. I'll start with my primary one, which is spiritual, because that's just life. So spiritual, we know the spiritual side, it's having that sense that life is meaningful, and you embrace the reality of a supernatural realm that exists. For me, that's with God. So what are the things that fill me spiritually? Everyday prayer, everyday meditating and reading and studying the word. Not every day, quite often, sometimes I listen to worship music while I'm getting ready in the morning. Then during the day, depending on how the day is, I listen to a sermon or I read a Christian book. And when life is normal, Sunday is church, Wednesday is cell group, Thursday I'm preparing my messages for my YouTube channel and my Facebook posts for the week. Those are the things that fill me. And Sunday afternoon naps are life for me. For me at least. But spiritually, what are the things that drain me? Obviously, not being consistent with my devotions and my time with God. Feeling discouraged when it seems like God is not answering my prayers, that's draining. So as I'm sharing about me, think about yourself. What fills you up and what drains you spiritually? Emotionally, that's being in touch with your emotional presence and being aware and comfortable with your own thoughts and your own feelings. I realize that my thoughts are the biggest contributors to my emotional state. So I'm very intentional about which thoughts I allow myself to meditate on. And I say I allow myself to meditate on because thoughts are intrusive like that. They will come even when they are not invited. But it's up to you to decide if you are going to meditate on the thought or not. I have daily affirmations that I make when I feel like, now I need it. I'm created for a purpose are some of the things that I'll say to myself. I'm blessed. I'm highly favored. I'm forgiven. I'm beautiful. I'm loved. I'm cared for. I'm unique. I'm God's daughter. Feeling others emotionally also fills me. What drains me emotionally? When I feel empty, I switch off social media because the news causes a lot of drain. Hearing news and problems of some people, it's a problem. But because of my calling, I can't avoid it. People tend to want to tell me about their problems. But at least I'm aware it drains me, so I know what to do after those sessions or learning about people's problems. What about you? Do you know what fills you and what drains you emotionally? Intellectually, that's being able to engage and to be in lively interaction with the world around you. It's flexing your mind muscles and opening the mind. I actually enjoy studying, guys. I know it's unusual, but I do. I'm on my 7th degree, my 2nd master's, and I'm not even counting the short courses. it fills me. It fills me. Completing challenges, challenging business tasks or projects, it fills me. But drainers, intellectually, it's being forced to learn things that I am not interested in. Be aware of what drains you and what fills you intellectually. Physically, that's maintaining sound, a good body, regular exercise, proper nutrition, sleeping well, and all those things. What I absolutely love is my Saturday hikes with hubby. They are life. They fill me up. I enjoy having chicken licking, hot wings, and ice cream with hubby in the car by the ocean. Guys, we actually go to the ocean and we don't get out of the car. Come and live in Cape Town and you understand why we do that sometimes. I'm supposed to exercise 30 minutes a day. Well, no. I'm improving now, but it's goals. What drains me physically? Household chores, cooking, cleaning. Sometimes I'm inspired to cook and it fills me, but when I do it because I have to, it's very much draining. Ironing, guys, before I married my husband, I told him I will do anything for you, but just not ironing. It drains me. My family's untidy habits, they're draining. I'm sure you can relate to the shoes in the lounge, and let me not get too excited. The last one, socially, what fills me up? Family movie nights, stay in days with hubby. And he's my BFF. Calling home, even a phone call is something that can fill you. Catching up with my sisters, my mentees, my friends, I enjoy that. What drains me socially? Meeting uptight strangers face to face. Nobody ever believes me when I say this, but I'm actually an introvert. So I get so relieved when I meet a person that reciprocates. People who are unresponsive when you try to build a relationship, it's very draining for me. Complicated relationships with family members drain us. But it's another example of things that are outside of your control because you can't change your family. So that's just looking at those 5 categories and to say practically what are the things that can drain you and fill you. And I think having gone through them, you'll see that those 5 categories are quite comprehensive. So what are the non-negotiables? I can't say they are preference, they are because it's your personality types. But in order to keep refilling, these are the non-negotiables. Sleep, cultivating healthy eating habits, exercise, keeping your mind in check. Thoughts are like seeds. They grow whether negative or positive, but it's up to you to decide if you allow them. Look after your spirit, man. It's very important. We tend to focus so much on our bodies, which are merely containers, and neglect our spirit, which is the real us. Have a support system. No one is an island. Debrief, especially you guys in the line of work that you are in, myself included. Talk about your experiences. Check your company as well. Don't spend too much time with negative people. They are, I almost said life suckers. I wanted to say they are draining, but that's how strongly I feel about you being intentional about the kind of company that you keep. Tell a trusted friend or an advisor when your emotional tank is running low. For a while, you may succeed putting up a facade or a mask of being together, but eventually you will crash. So be honest with yourself. Share your frustrations, share your disappointment, and it helps to refuel you emotionally. Just sharing. My time is up, so I'm concluding. When you have a problem, you can either grow wings or buy crutches. Personally, I choose wings. You must realize problems are temporary. Winter will pass. You are meant to go through problems, not to build a monument for them. You are not as weak as you think. Out of difficulties grows miracles. Trust God. Stress comes when we fail to trust in God's help and God's provision. So when they ask you, how are you? Fine under the circumstances should never be your answer. Circumstances are like a mattress. You lie on top of them. You rest easy. If you go under them, you suffocate. What are you doing under them? Make up your mind to enjoy life no matter the circumstances. I'm a pastor, so I can't leave you without a scripture. Ephesians 5:11. Make good use of every opportunity you have, because the days are evil. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to me. I was happy, I was jabu. I don't know if there's any questions, if we have time for me to address any questions, or if you I'll just hand back to you for now.
No, you actually have to answer questions. Can we just get extra time from the group, because there's already people who have been sending questions on the chat box.
Okay.
So so you actually have to answer. We have Tembani and Donay who have asked questions on the chat box. They would also allow people to unmute, just a comment or something that they could share from the lesson. Could be a question or comment or something. We all have something to say after this. Yeah, Tembani, then Donay.
So should I read the question because I see it, or do they want to say it?
Okay.
Should I?
You can read the question.
Okay, so Tembani says, what happens when one is emotionally bankrupt? That's how I describe it, and still be able to smile. So emotionally bankrupt means your tank is low. If I'm understanding your question, you are asking what do you do when you are depressed? Basically, like when you've reached your lowest and there's absolutely nothing left. I think for this one, Tembani, it's important to seek help. It's very important to seek help when you find yourself in this situation. If you can speak to a counselor, that's great. I before I would go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, I'd just start by getting somebody that I can confide in and see how that goes, and also do practical things that we talked about. Think about what got you there. How did you get there? And think about when you were not there, what were you doing? What did you stop doing? Everything that we talked about today, try to reflect on it and see if you can move on from there. If you cannot, seek help. That would be my advice. And then just random question. It's Donay who asks. It says she says, what if you are unable to know how you actually feel because you feel like you have no emotions anymore? You just living because people are telling you this is how it's supposed to be and all that. Sometimes it feels like you have emotions and the next day you feel as if you do not have any emotions. I think I alluded briefly on this one when I said one of the signs that your tank is low is the feeling of numbness. When you are indifferent, bad things can be happening around you and you seem to be unaffected. People can be rejoicing around you, you feel like you are unaffected. And I think, Donay, this, if I understand your question correctly, is what you are asking about. I think it's related. My response will be related to how I just responded to our Tembani now. Be honest with yourself. like you are being honest with the question now. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself the questions that we spoke about today. And depending on where you come to, get help, speak to someone. But the most important thing is decide. Make a decision that you do not want to live feeling this way. You want to be excited when there's something to be excited about. You want your heart to be broken when there's something that causes your heart to be broken, because that's humanness. That's how it should be for us as humans. So reflect, be honest with yourself. If you feel you cannot help yourself, if you start doing some of the things that we spoke about and you're still not feeling better, seek help. And then Maliba asks, how do you naturally induce serotonin, the happy hormones? So with my limited understanding, if you are still okay and they are still there, the things that I shared in my presentation, that I said these are the non-negotiable, those are the things that you should be doing. The sleeping, ensuring you get rest, you switch off from social media, including WhatsApp sometimes, that during the day you take 20-30 minutes every day just to clear your mind and meditate. I meditate on the word of God, and that's what I would advise. Go outside, get some vitamin D, healthy eating habits. You can actually do a study on this. There are some foods that are recommended that they say they do induce serotonin. Exercise, keeping your mind in check. Everything that I shared about that I said are non-negotiables. They will actually help you to keep your happiness levels at bay. But the reality is, when they have reached certain levels of lowness, where we say you are depressed, that's actually when you also need to seek medical professional help. Because when you are at certain levels, it's almost out of your power to change it on your own, but you will need support and professional help. So what I've shared, try it. If it doesn't work and you can see you are not in a good space, seek professional help. That's how I would respond to that question. And then Masindi, I don't think it's a question. She's just saying that the session is very informative and she wishes to have session. She wishes that I could have the same session with the girls. Ausjabi is the boss, so now I'm here. I will hear what the bosses say. You can see the material is here. I'm here. I know we have sessions with the girls actually for the next 3 weeks every Thursday. We had already agreed on what we are going to talk about, but obviously based on the feedback from today, we can tweak and change as it is deemed necessary. I don't know, Ausjabu, what you say about that.
No, I fully agree that our actually not even, I know that we have planned for the girls, but I'm thinking for our male coordinators as well. This is super good for them to also join in, because as males they're expected to be the head of the house, be strong, even when it's actually tough. So definitely for the girls it's a must do, and I'm thinking if possible you could actually expand your availability to get our male coordinators to also join in this space, because I think it will be helpful for them to also benefit. So I agree. As long as you agree, we can go ahead.
We will talk. I'm happy to assist in any way I can.
Okay, great.
Is there any more questions? Sorry, I didn't finish Masindi's comment, I see there was a question at the bottom as well. So she says, when your jug is leaking, does it mean you are getting relief from the stresses that you have? I think with the short answer to your question is yes. A long answer to your question is yes and no. So I'll make you an example. With the 5 categories that you looked at, social, emotional, physical, spiritual, and intellectual, we know for a fact it's not only good things that come in, right? So sometimes we socially allow toxic people into our lives that pour in toxicity into our lives. And in that sense, you are correct in saying, does it mean you are releasing when your jug is leaking? So in that sense, yes. The sense of no is to say, it's the order of life that you will leak. And the leaking represents that you are continually pouring yourself out to people in a good way, not necessarily in a bad way. So I made an example. I said, preaching is good, right? And I'm happy and I'm fulfilled when I do it. But it's draining, it's taxing on me physically and me spiritually, because it entails me pouring myself out. In your profession as well, I made the example to say, if you are solving a very difficult problem in a family setup, it's draining, but it's part of your job. And when the problem is solved, you get relieved, because that's what at the end of the day, that's why you do what you do. So the leaks, yes, can be a form of releasing negativity, but they are also there because life naturally, it's because you are living and you are giving of yourself. That's what the leaks also represent. I hope I've answered your question in a way that makes sense to you. Anyone else? Okay, Ausjabu, it looks like everybody is happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This session has, really challenged me as an individual as well, Geleto, because I'm sitting here and thinking, actually, in these 5 dimensions, which part have I tried to actually, sit down and reflect and really identify if I am leaking or if I am refilling my tank as an individual? I am starting to think I'm at a low level, on this tank. And after having this discussion, I'm thinking I need to sit down and do a deeper reflection and come up with different activities that I need to do. Because if your tank is empty, it actually affects everything around you. Absolutely. Your work. You might even try to actually perform, but you could see that actually you are not performing. You are on the standstill. Intellectually, you're like stuck, in everything that you do emotionally. And I'm thinking we are also investing in relationships that are actually draining us. And, being refilled really gave me a chance to also reflect. Yeah, I'm really touched and challenged. Maybe the next session is for us to actually have developmental plans as individuals, where we sit down, we write down, our gaps, and we say these are the plans. We come back and we get to share. And even when we have actually succeeded on a particular dimension, we are able to actually testify and say, in this part I was able to actually move successfully. So I'm thinking our next session should be on what have we actually identified as a gap, and then we actually come up with a plan. Because now you've given us an idea. Now we need to start implementing. We need to start seeing the process, because really we are not doing justice to the children that we are serving. Imagine if I were to engage with the child and a certain situation triggers me, can you imagine how I'm going to respond? I'm not even going to actually respond. I'm going to react.
Yeah.
And I find myself in a dangerous situation, not only at work, but also with relationships. You know, your family, your children might start, you know, taking a back step, or, you know, not wanting to be around you.
Yeah.
So I think really, Geleto, we need to have another session where we identify individually, we write our plans, and then from there we are able to actually start, you know, tracking how far are we with the implementation.
Yeah, I think that's why I made the comment about workshops, because when you are in a workshop, you sit there and I ask the question, you know, think about a time when you were happy. Then you think and you write. And then I ask you, what were you doing when you were happy? You know, so you live there. So in this kind of setup, discipline becomes very imperative, that you don't only listen and go away and forget about the session, but you actually reflect and you do what was suggested. And it's important for every area, because we need to have a balanced approach to life. So you must take care of the spiritual as well as the emotional and the social, the physical and the intellectual.
Yep.
And we have less than a minute, so we have to go, guys. It's gonna cut off soon again.
Yeah, we have 2 messages from Maliba and Dimaka, so maybe you can read them, then we can
okay.
Out.
Maliba says, this session has filled my tank. I'm really inspired. Thank you, Sister K. Thanks, Maliba. I'm glad I could help. And Austimakato says, I'm really inspired and looking forward to the part of all your next sessions. I hope it was, I thought it was just for the girls. So, okay, you are welcome. You must come. So she's looking forward to the next sessions. And she says, this kind of sessions makes one to take a stop, reflect, and realize that there is more to life than the negative energy or things that are trying hard to weigh us down. That's true. Thank you 1,000 times. Galaxy 6, I still remember she said her name Ke Dineo Akere. She says, I'm truly inspired by what Sister K has just presented. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Sister K.
Absolute.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Oh, guys, we had a good session, good feedbacks received. I hope you caught all of it, and that your tanks got something, and you will continue refilling them to ensure that you live your best life, because that's what it's all about. Inspiration for you to live and fulfill your purpose and to live your best life. Thank you so much, Sister K, signing out. Remember, you are loved, you are precious, and you matter to God. Hashtag South African is doing it for SA. Ciao.